Welcome back to this new inspirational video. Today I wanted to go over a quote by the great author Thomas Troward. This is what he had to say: "We cannot think in one way and act in another." At first you might think, well, that makes sense, and simply accept it. Personally, I don't entirely agree with that statement, and I'll explain why, because that's what this whole video will be about. We simply ask ourselves, can I think in one way and act in another? It is obviously possible, but would simply mean we're being very deceptive, either to ourselves or to other people, if the goal is to mislead them. What is fascinating, however, is that you can sometimes catch yourself meeting people and you can sense something is off about them. Basically, they are trying to think in one way and act in another, and energetically we might pick that up about them. However, in this case, we want to really consider this quote from the standpoint of manifesting our own dreams. Can I think about my dream but then physically act in a total contradiction of my own dream? Yes. Yes, indeed you can. In fact, that is what happens to so many people, including myself. It's a very common issue we face. You have this beautiful dream inside your mind, but then as the time comes to act, you either don't do it or you're too afraid to do so. In that very moment, your thoughts and actions are not synced up, but we do want to learn to become masters of our minds so that it does sync up. Let's suppose you really want to start a new business for yourself. Currently you are employed at a company you might not like very much. Perhaps you don't enjoy the work hours, etc. You just want to be your own boss. The thought enters your mind to start your own business, and then something happens. You become highly uncomfortable and therefore don't act on your own thought in this case. The dominating feeling of fear and anxiety over making such a huge change overpowers the thought of potential business endeavor. Therefore you feel unable to act and you let the dream go, or at least for the time being you might reason, perhaps now is not the right time for me to go for this dream, and before you know it, life has passed you by and you never realized it at all. Did you ever had those moments during childhood where you had a crush on somebody else, but then even though you knew you were in love with this person, you didn't dare to act on the thought and let them know? It happens to many people out there even as adults. They might be nervous about such a thing. Again, the thought wasn't acted upon. What we simply want to understand here is that thought is acted upon based on the emotional state it invokes. So if a thought is about something that can really improve your life, but you're emotionally very distressed, odds are the emotions will win over the positive thought. What we want to do then is to take any thought we have concerning the improvements of our lives and literally fall in love with that thought. Contemplate that one for yourself. The idea of falling in love with your own dream, what do you think that will do? It harmonizes your entire being, spiritually speaking, with the good you desire. That's what it will do. The way I look at what Thomas said is that we cannot think in one way and deeply feel about what we think and then act in another way physically. Did you catch the difference? There we are again reminding ourselves that thought and feeling have to become one, or else nothing can be done. No matter how much you might think of doing great things in your life, if the charge of feeling is missing, the dream can't ignite and be set in motion. So there's going to be many things you think about but don't act upon, and this is perfectly fine in the case of destructive thoughts. That would do us more harm than good. But it also happens with big dreams we may want to realize, and that is the struggle of the ages. For men and women to actually catch up with their own dreams. They can have the goal in mind but find it hard to get going. It doesn't have to be hard. Thomas would be right that you can't think in one way and act in another, only if you also understand how to control your mind fully. So make sure you're always operating from the most productive state you can be in. The contradictions, the conflicts, the talk of chaos in the mind most of us experience regularly, every now and then, has everything to do with temporarily losing control over our own inner state. We can decide to wake up every single day and decide, today I'm going to act on my dream. I can feel how lovely this dream is to me, and therefore I will allow God to compel me to do whatever needs to be done that day. This is how I work on my own goals currently. I know I'm operating under a so-called compulsion. For some reason I just find myself unable to deny that I'm magnetically pulled towards doing things that are in harmony with the dream I see inside my imagination. This wasn't always the case. I would have those great dreams in my mind, and then I would get scared. I worried about what other people might think of it, so I'd rather not give myself too much exposure. How silly was that? I had the thought in my mind, but I was unable to act on what I was thinking about. I was spiritually paralyzed, you could say. This is also what one of my mentors would describe as the terror barrier. It is a mental barrier you might crash into. A more common word for this process would simply be going beyond your own comfort zone. Your dreams tend to lie beyond your current circumstances and therefore comfort zone, but you can learn to grow the courage you need in order to act on your dream. If the comfort zone is holding you back, then making a statement that we cannot think in one way and act in another doesn't make any sense. I can think in one way but feel totally out of whack with what I'm thinking about, and therefore I can't act on the thought of great achievement unless I finally learn to sync up my emotional state with my own dream. Then it becomes true, you won't be able to think in one way and act in another. You have become a person of inner integrity. You no longer are fooling yourself with wishful thinking that isn't getting you any results. Wishful thinking is fine and all, so long as it also translates into results. After all, we have dreams in our minds because we know we'd be happier if we were to physically live those same dreams. Ultimately, after years of studying metaphysical teachings for myself, I noticed many others talk about the power of thought, but not including the polarity of feeling as much, even though a thought is the most powerful if the feeling acts as the fuel that drives the thought. This is where Ranil Gort's teachings made a huge difference for me. He would mostly talk about making sure you feel as if your dream was already a reality. It was after years of studying the power of thought and all these great claims about the mind that it started to click. I noticed after looking back on my own life that the only dreams I ever was able to act upon were those I was strongly emotionally tied to. So I finally had confirmation that this is a real technique that can be used and should not be missed in our studies. Now let's bring everything together that has been shared so far. You can only act on thoughts if you're also emotionally involved in that thought. It can't be any other way. The feeling is the secret and overrides any thought you might have, so make sure feelings are working for you and not against you. Feeling afraid and worried about acting on your dream won't do you any good, but feeling confident and assured that you have what it takes to make your dream come true will do you much good. How do you gain such confidence in yourself? By being honest with yourself. Why do you have the dreams you have? Ask yourself that. Certainly it's because you feel like this could be wonderful to achieve, and you can only feel that about any dream because in potentiality you have the power to do so within yourself. This you must clearly understand when dealing with your own dreams. Never downplay your own dreams or dismiss them as nonsense. In the end, they are brought to your conscious awareness because you do have the power to make them come true. However, you have to become the right instrument for such a dream to move with and through you and manifest as results in your life. If this is clearly understood by us, we will be able to apply our minds more and more effectively, so that it may manifest beautiful results. The law of attraction will forever bring us new and better ideas and resources to work with in order to make even greater dreams come true. You will truly live a blessed life, because that is how it was meant to be all along. So simply remember the wonderful words of Thomas Troward, while adding some additional points to them. You cannot really think and feel in one way and then act in another. Make sure your thoughts and feelings are synced up to the good you desire to manifest in your life, and then it will become evident that you won't be able to stop yourself from acting on your wildest dreams. This power of compulsion we talk about is real. It does happen. You will notice it. You start to attract all sorts of ideas and simply cannot stop yourself from exploring those ideas as you act on them to see where it will lead you, because for some mysterious but beautiful reason, you can sense that it will take you where you want it to go all along. So God bless you. This is such a beautiful concept to understand for all of us at the end of the day. Thomas Troward was a powerful author, that's for sure. He has written many great books on mental science, with very deep spiritual metaphysical meanings behind his words. We will be going over more stuff that he has shared when he was still alive on this planet. But for now, let this one sink in, because I thought this quote in and of its own was very powerful and interesting, but needed some extra explanation, because if we're only working with the premise that we just need to think about success and then we'll become it, we're missing that one polarity of feeling. And I told you a little earlier here that in my studies I noticed many great authors only talk about the power of thought, and then I guess they assume the reader would understand the importance of their emotional state. But yet sadly most people might totally miss that as they're studying this material, and that's where Ranil Gort came in after all, that he would say feel as if, And the more I started to contemplate his statement, that feeling as if, the more I started to realize, wait a minute, there's great power behind all of this. This is what's going to help me manifest what I desire, and this is what's going to help you manifest what you desire. Because after all, that's the goal of this channel. We want to help people manifest greater results in their lives, no matter what their goals are. We don't judge, we only tell you how you could go about it, and then you can contemplate that for yourself, and hopefully you do. And then that is the end of this video. I'll see you tomorrow with a new one, with a different one. We got a lot of interesting stuff coming up. Now, if you're new to this channel, consider subscribing to receive inspirational videos on a regular basis. And with that being said, dear viewer, never forget that we are the dreamers.